Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A long time ago I came across a certain family, and since then I've seen them pop up every now and then. This family is known for what many call the saddest questline in WoW. The family lived in the same area as Sir Thomas, or the Headless Horseman, who we discussed in the previous video, and thus I thought it would be fitting to tell you about this family now. I'd like to tell you about the Redpaths. Do you remember, when the hills of northern Lordaeron were still green, when Scourge and Undead were almost unheard of? It was around this time that the Redpath family settled in a town called Darrowshire, named after the Darrowmere Lake, where they were seen as humble and nice people. Living in the town were three siblings, Joseph, Marlene, and Carling Redpath. Joseph had two daughters, Pamela and Jessica. Aside from these people, there was one more known Redpath, but his name will not be remembered, as we only get to know him as Marshal Redpath. Now that you know a little bit about the Redpath's background, I'll start with telling you a bit about Marshal Redpath. The Marshal seemed like a fine gentleman. Working for the armies of men, he was stationed in Southshore in the Hillsbred foothills. He sent us on a small set of quests, dealing with the ogres of the Alterac Mountains. When the Cataclysm hit Azeroth, it turned out he wasn't as brave as he might have appeared at first. Although basically everyone in the town fights for their lives when agitated elementals attack the town, the Marshal cowers and tries to hide. Sometime after the elemental attacks, we know that the Forsaken of Terranmil destroyed Southshore. During this attack, the Marshal actually perished and was taken to the Tearsfall Glades to be resurrected as an undead in Sylvanas' army. We are there when he's resurrected, and he seems a bit goofy. He certainly doesn't want to join Sylvanas. He just goofs around, saying that he's not a monster, but that we are, and then bolts off, saying that he'll start his own Forsaken, with blackjack and hookers. Alright, I might have made that last part up. But not entirely, as we learn that the Marshals gathered some Forsaken that didn't turn out to be very bright and formed a small force. These Forsaken are called Rotbrains by the normally functioning Forsaken, and we are to eliminate all of them before they become an actual threat. We do this with ease, and every last one of them falls, including Marshal Redpath. And with that, his story ends. He appears to be the odd one in the Redpath family, as we will learn that the rest of his family was pretty darn honorable. Maybe that's why he joined the army in the first place. Who knows? Now I'd like to continue with the other Redpaths and their story in what is now known as the Eastern Plaguelands. A lot happened before and during the Third War, when the Scourge started rampaging through the lands. When anticipating these Scourge attacks, Joseph saw that Darrowshire would not be a good place for his daughters, and so he sent Jessica to Kalimdor so that she would be safe. He kept Pamela with him, however. I guess he thought her too young to be away from her father. The four Redpaths that were left momentarily stayed in an inn just south of Stratholme, as we can see them there in the culling of Stratholme dungeon. I can only guess that they soon ran from the place when Stratholme appeared to be filled with plagued ones. Marlene sought refuge in a small home south of Enderhall, while Joseph and Carling, together with the young Pamela, went back to Darrowshire. But then, the inevitable moment was there. The Scourge was near. Joseph gathered the townfolk and set up a small militia, but that would never be enough. Luckily, a Knight of the Silver Hand had his roots in the small town, and thus he managed to reinforce Joseph's party with a group of paladins. And there the Scourge came, marching upon the town. The initial bands of ghouls were easily defeated, but when Horgus the Ravager, a ghoul lord of sorts, stepped into battle, the small army of defenders was quickly defeated. That is not where the Scourge stopped, however. Part of the Scourge army was the Death Knight Marduk the Black. Just like the Headless Horseman, Joseph Redpath was raised as a servant of the Scourge. He was a strong man, sure, but his will was not strong enough to fight back his evil thoughts. He rampaged through the town, killing innocent inhabitants. Pamela had already been killed by the Scourge, so he luckily did not kill her, if you would call that luck. He never came to rest, and Pamela's ghostly form never left Darrowshire, up until the point where we venture into the Plaguelands. Carling was wounded during the battle for Darrowshire, but he was not actually killed. He managed to get away and recovered at Light's Hope Chapel. After he had been rescued, he joined the Argent Dawn there, and as a member of this faction we meet him at Crown Guard Tower. He tells us of his story, and that he still thinks Pamela is out there. We look for her, and apparently she's not aware of the fact that she's dead. This is where it gets rough. She wants us to get her dolly, as she lost it. She speaks of angry spirits that talk to her, and she asks us to go find her father. We find her broken doll and repair it, and boy is she joyful. We also find the hunting blade of Joseph, which he lost when fighting a wolf. We bring the blade back to Carling, but he's not really able to do anything with it, and that is where Chromie steps in, the good old bronze dragon. She tells us of a ritual she can perform, which would show the Battle of Darrowshire once again, but this time we could take Joseph down so that his spirit might find rest in death. We help Chromie gather materials for the ritual, and eventually we start the battle. We kill Horgus the Ravager this time, and Marduk the Black rides in to turn Joseph. Joseph is killed and resurrected as Redpath the Corrupted, but there we stand. We take Joseph down with a quick blow, and the fight is over. Marduk actually escaped, and we do not know where he is at this moment. It doesn't matter though, as Joseph is finally at rest. There is a small moment where we see Joseph and Pamela get together again, and adorable it is indeed. So peaceful. Being together again, father and daughter are able to move on to the spirit world, and Garling will probably stay with the Argent Dawn. Marlene actually died at some point, presumably when the Scourge came by, but I reckon she'll be able to find rest too, when she gets to know the fate of her kin. That leaves Jessica, and she has wandered off at the moment. Before the Cataclysm revamp, we could find her in Everlook and Winterspring, but right now she's disappeared. We don't know where she went. Maybe she's fighting the Legion on the Broken Isles, but that is just my wild imagination. I think the story has been wrapped up for now, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon with another story, but for now I'd like to say goodbye.